Okay guys, let's get into understanding Torricelli's law. Torricelli's law, what does it talk about? It talks about relationship between this height, this is the orifice through which fluid comes out. Now suppose this is a tank which has fluid in it and there's an orifice or an aperture through which the fluid has to come out. Alright. Now what it talks about is there is a relationship between this height of fluid, height of fluid above the level of orifice to the surface. So this is h, and velocity that flows out through the orifice or aperture or opening. Alright, now let's understand. In fluid dynamics, it's about relationship between ideal fluid flowing through an orifice, its velocity and depth of fluid above it. Alright, so that's what is Torricelli's law. Now, after understanding what Torricelli's law has to convey, we are supposed to know Bernoulli's equation. Bernoulli's equation already I have presented in my earlier video. It talks about fluid pressure energy, kinetic energy, and gravitational potential energies. It says the sum of this is constant. So how do we apply it here? So sum of this is constant over here means this sum should be equal to sum over here. So let's understand. So here let the velocity with which, since fluid is flowing through orifice, so the level of water has to come down. So it comes down with a particular velocity, and let that velocity be v1. And cross section of this tub, let it be a1. Alright, and this be height. Alright, and the velocity with which fluid is coming out of orifice be v2, and the cross section area of cross section of aperture be a2. Alright, now let's talk about Bernoulli's equation. As per Bernoulli's equation, it has to be P0. Why P0? Because that's the atmospheric pressure which is acting on it. So that is what is fluid pressure energy. Half rho v1 square is the kinetic energy, and rho gh is potential energy. So this is the energy which is there here acting on fluid. Now what's the pressure over here? It is P0 because again this is also exposed to atmosphere. Half rho v2 square. So this is what is kinetic energy, v2 being velocity of fluid that is flowing out through orifice. And for potential energy, I have put it 0 over here because see, we are measuring height from here. So as we go up, h keeps on increasing, and here it takes the form of h. So here it is 0. So your rho gh becomes 0. So potential energy, so gravitational potential energy is 0. Alright. So we just jot it down here, equilibrate the two and jot it down over here. So same thing what I had explained here, I've just jotted it down, this 0, and then cancelled rho because it's the same fluid which is in and same fluid which is flowing out. So density gets cancelled. Then we take LCM and this becomes v1 square plus 2gh is equal to v2 square. Now what do we have to say about v1 square? As per equation of continuity, a1 v1 is equal to a2 v2. So what? So when we see a2 is too very small. Since a2 is too very small, so v2 is very high. V2 is very big. So this is low, this is high. Now when we check out over here, A1 is very big. So V1 has to be very low, very small. So A1 is very big, so V1 has to be very small. So velocity V1 is very small. Now if velocity V1 is very small in comparison to V2, owing to difference in area of cross section of 2, and as per equation of continuity, if this is small, this has to be big, and if this is big, this has to be small. Now this is very big, so this is very small. This is very small, so this is very big. Alright, applying this logic of equation of continuity, V1 being very small, we can neglect V1 square. Once if we neglect V1 square, just taking root on both the side, what we end up is with root 2GH. So that's what I have written over here. One area of cross section of water tub is very greater than area of cross section of aperture. So obviously V1 is very smaller than V2. So that's why we got 2GH is equal to V2 square. On rooting we get V2 is equal to, that is the velocity of fluid coming out of orifice as root 2GH. Alright. Now, another interesting thing is, if we talk about free fall of a body under gravity, formula for that also is V is equal to root 2GH. Now how do we derive it? Now it's just a simple kinematic equation where V square is equal to U square plus 2GH. Now U square, since we are dropping the free falling body, so initial velocity is 0. So V square, so U is 0, so V square is equal to 2GH, or V is equal to root 2GH. So free fall and this has the same value. So speed of liquid flowing through orifice at depth h below the surface is equal to free fall of particle from height h under gravity. Quite interesting, right? Okay. Understand it well. Would be applicable for quite a number of numericals.